worked. Hi, Nick.
Perfect. How are you?
Good, good. I hear you. I see you. So our tech check went well.
Yeah, I figured it out. I technically a millennial, but I do struggle with this.
I think we all do, honestly. It's all
Oh,
good.
sorry,
Can you hear?
it looked like we froze there a little bit. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I think it's just a lot of people entered the call at the same time, so sometimes it tends to freeze up about around there, but we should be okay and smooth sailing.
Sure.
Yep, I've got my data running on back just in case because Wi-Fi has proven anything but reliable these days, but it's all good.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to introduce everybody to you. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. We have Nick Giovannetti joining us today from London, Ontario, to speak a bit about our finances as we enter the fall season. So we're definitely going to have a whole bunch of questions for Nick, and he's going to give us his expertise. If you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the chat box, the little comment box you'll see at the bottom of your screen, or the little Q&A feature on the bottom right of your screen. It'll all show up for us. We'll take them at the end. Without further ado, we'll get right to it. Nick, how's it going?
Things are going well. I've been looking forward to this. I've been trying to do a little bit of the sharing and the different advertising you guys have put out there. So this is great. Hopefully we can do many more of these.
For sure. I know this is your first Instagram Live, so congratulations. But you definitely have a lot of knowledge, so hopefully this will inspire you to continue some Instagram Lives on your own account.
Yeah, but potentially, yeah, I might need you guys for some coaching.
Anytime, no problem. Having hosted
Yeah.
a couple of should be okay. So if you have any questions,
Perfect.
definitely. I want to just dive right into it so we can start talking. I know we only have about 25 minutes of the actual conversation, and the last 5 minutes we'll open it up for Q&A with everybody on the call. So I wanted to start off by just, talking about this past summer. We're entering fall, but let's just reflect about what happened for Canadians in summer 2021. CPA released a very important article that said that over 38% of Canadians decided to spend more summer 2021 as compared to summer 2020. Now, maybe that could be because things are a little bit more open now. We were still in a lockdown around then. Things were a little confusing because it was all new. Now everyone's like, oh, I saved up a whole bunch of money being at home for 7 or 8 months. God, I don't even know how long. So they spent more. As a financial advisor, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I that's a great analysis that they did there. So, first thing, if any clients that I was working with or anybody listening that feels like, they splurged a little bit, they made some big purchases during the summer, it's over and done with. There's no sense in regretting or feeling bad about anything that went on throughout the summer. The classic saying is best time to build a tree was 20 years ago. Next best time is right now. So starting fresh today, it's okay if you made some big purchases. Just start thinking about an exit strategy. See about if any of those purchases that you made, there's a market, somebody could maybe purchase that from you, try and recoup some of the costs that you had put out there. So an example is I have friends who bought boats last year. And, some of them have regretted that. They regretted it almost right after they bought it because they realized there's a lot of costs that go along with that. And I said, look, man, don't worry about it. Just jump on the market. There's probably people who can't get boats right now. Maybe you could enjoy your boat for the summer, have all the fun that you want to have, and then, become a bit of a salesperson and unload your purchase. Don't feel bad about it. Don't let it sit there and just drain the pocketbooks, for storing it through the winter. Find a market. There's always a buyer for everything. That's why we have eBay, and just move on from it.
Yeah, actually, that's a very smart tip. Like, if there's something that I guess maybe you regret purchasing or you bought impulsively and are like, okay, I don't need this, I can do without it, relisting it, whether it's on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Kijiji, there are multiple avenues to your point exactly that folks can actually just post and sell and get a few bucks as well. So, I mean, that's not too bad an idea. And how do you feel about that, but lose, like, they bought a boat for, I don't know, I'm just saying, let's say they bought a boat for $100,000, but they're selling it for $80,000. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, just think about how much you enjoyed it. Was it worth $20,000 for the enjoyment that you felt this summer? One of the best teachers in life is to experience something and take away a learning point from it. So there's no sense feeling bad about what you did. You know, don't feel like you've made the biggest mistake and you're way far behind. It was a learning experience. You know, one of the coolest quotes I saw was Michael Jordan. He's made 100 and some odd or 200 and something game-winning shots in his career, but he took 700 or 900. I can't remember the exact numbers. So just think about that. Michael Jordan shot game-winning shots more than 4 times as many than he actually made, and we all remember the wins. You know, he learned a lot from those losses. So don't fret on it. Try and recoup whatever you can. Move on and start a great strategy moving forward.
I like that. And I think it's more about the mentality and the mindset that you have around that. So that's definitely a very good point to make. And, you know, right now our topic is, you know, turning a new leaf, kind of welcoming fall, welcoming new stuff kind of going on, and talking about our finances in that regard. So for those like basically that are transitioning into the fall season, is there a ratio or some kind of, you know, little sub spending versus savings ratio that you would want to share with everybody else? I know you got a really cool number, so I really want to hear it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a number that I learned when I was early into my career was just setting up some form of a ratio that you live by and trying to automate stuff as much as possible so that you can take away the human element or the human desire to fray from it. Automate it, get it out of sight, out of mind, and just let that engine move in the background. So one of the formulas that I've been using, I implement in my life, and I help coach others, is a 10-20-70 rule. So what that is minimum net take-home income, whatever is coming in, store it and save it. I can't tell if that was me freezing or you freezing.
I think it's a little bit of both, but your voice was still going, so it's totally fine. So 10%.
Okay. Hopefully everyone heard that. Yeah. So the 10-20-70, and there's many different ratios if you look online. This is one that I particularly like. Before you do anything, look at how much money hits your bank account every paycheck or how much money you earn if you're a commission-based person on that deal. And right away, out of sight, out of mind, 20% off to the side. 10% off to the side. That's your automatic savings. That 10% is also a minimum ratio. Now, the 20% number is a maximum ratio. So you don't want to ever exceed this number. And this is your debt servicing number. So if you have car loans, student loans, you want to buy some furniture at Leon's and you know, various purchases, a big boat that maybe was your summer purchase, whatever your net income is, try not to let your debt servicing number be more than 20% of that value. And ideally, it's less. And anything that you are less than 20%, that gets shoved over into savings. So what you're doing here is you're sort of isolating 30% of your net take-home income for either debt servicing or for automatic, out of sight, out of mind, long-term saving. And then the 70% is another maximum, and this is what you're going to live on. So try not to budget your life over the 70% of what you're living on. That includes mortgages and rent and food and all of those types of things that we do, you know, those nights out and splurging here and there. Focus in on no more than 70%. And me as your financial planner, I really don't care where you spend that money. If you're a video gamer or you like to go to the downtown and blow it on bottle service or whatever it is, it really doesn't matter to me. Let's just keep 30% minimum off to the side for debt servicing and for long-term saving. And that 70 number being a maximum, if you're not using all of it, say you budgeted your life on half of your income, well, that extra little bit rolls over to debt servicing. So you crush that debt down faster. And again, if you don't have the debt, the need for the debt, now you're rolling that into long-term savings. And we've been able to see people get up to, you know, 50% of their take-home pay being just right away automatically shoved off into long-term savings. So that's the key to success. I read a book once called Profit First, and there's a common rule in that book. You probably don't need to read the book. I can summarize it, but it's before you do anything, what's the profit you're going to take? And in this instance, for personal finance, I'm going to take 10%, and I'm going to shove it off to the side no matter what.
That's actually really nice. So 10, 20, and 70. And based on where you are, you roll them backwards. So if let's say you only spent, you didn't reach your max of 70%, put that towards debt first. And then if you paid off your debt, then put it towards your savings in that order.
That's usually the order I recommend. Now, you could leave your debt servicing as a maximum of 20% and just take that surplus from living and shove it into long-term savings.
Mm-hmm. And the question for you here is that, sometimes life happens and let's say you go over that 70%. How do we recalibrate then?
Yeah, so I mean, this is very common, especially when you're starting out. If you're new into your career, you're a young professional, or maybe you're just diving now into coaching and you're looking at your numbers and you're like, darn, we're way out of whack. Don't fret. Just take the time, sit down. It's kind of like if you get a little bit out of shape and you used to be somebody that worked out and ate clean all the time. Look, we all fray, right? Life is not a straight line. So just look for where you can trim the fat. Is there something that you're paying for that you don't necessarily need? Can you trim the fat a little bit? Or do you have a lot of services that you could maybe bundle into something where you're going to pay less money? Or maybe you should shop your home and auto rates because, if you've been with the same company for a long time, another company might really want your business and they might be willing to give you quite a bit off your normal rates. So what I would say is don't be afraid to shop and take the time to see where you could really trim the fat.
Awesome. And actually, you bring a point up that we have been talking about on our Instagram Lives is, a lot of our lifestyles and our habits have changed since COVID-19. So basically, folks that hadn't looked into their insurance, their car insurance, for example, they haven't been driving as often, right? Their car is parked on the driveway if they're not going to the grocery store or something else, So, reach out to your auto insurance company, let them know that, hey, can I save a couple dollars because my life habits are not the same anymore. So that's actually a really good point. And I know that going back to the boat reference, just an FYI, we're not judging anybody that bought a boat. Just let them know.
Yeah, that's just one that's top of mind. I know of somebody who spent, $1,000 on a new set of irons for the golf course. Oh, yeah. And now he's thinking, I'm not really going to probably get my full value out of this. And there's a secondary market for that. There's a lot of people looking for great clubs that you might lose 100 or 200 on what you spent, but just think of it as that was your entertainment money for the summer. I spend $50 a month on my entertainment.
I really like that because it's more of a mentality thing than it is anything else. Like, okay, I spent $200. If you're better off with $800 and the $200 on that spending. You did spend $1,000, but that $200 is your entertainment money for having used them. And now you're better off having $800 than just clubs in the garage that you're not going to use. So definitely.
Well, and I'll tell you what makes it a lot less painful is when you are paying yourself first. So when you're already automating that savings and you already know, even if I blew all my money this month, if I blew 90% of my money, I still am paying myself first. I'm still saving 10%. Even though all that money was used for entertainment, or in some people's eyes, they'd say they wasted it. So just try and waste a little less, recycle a little bit more than you're throwing stuff in the trash, and you're going to feel good about where you're at. It can be a relatively small amount that you save regularly that compounds to a large amount in the future. Just keep it, out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind, definitely. Because when you see the money there, it's just, I have enough money. But when it's not there, you're just basically like, I don't really have that much because you've kind of pushed that to the side, which is a good thing. And,
yeah,
this ratio and everything that we're talking about dovetails very nicely into those individuals that, maybe are looking to take their finances more seriously or just exploring their finances starting this fall. So maybe for those that are new to, balancing their money and everything, what best practices and success you have to give to those folks other than, the 10, 20, 70?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say this is cliche because I'm in the financial services industry, but what I would say is it doesn't help or it doesn't hurt to have a coach. Some of the greatest athletes in the world have a coach and constantly are improving their game and getting better at their craft. So what you almost need to do, I find, with finances, and personal opinion, because I suffer from the same thing, is I need to separate myself from the emotional attachment I have to the money. I need a buffer, and that could be what your coach is or your financial planner. Now, I'm not suggesting go to TikTok and just take the advice from anybody who made a really cool video. Take some time, research, find the credentials of people you're looking for. There's a lot of financial professionals that specialize in your type of a setup, whether you're a business owner, you're a dentist, you work at Costco, whatever it is, you know, somebody is probably niched and very specialized on helping people that have a very similar life to you.
That's actually a very good point to make. Like it is that when you're emotionally attached to the money, it turns into something different at that point, right? So once you're able to see it yourself, that it becomes a bit easier for you to be like, okay, I actually need to budget. I actually need to plan about my future. I need to segment my money. It's not like, oh, okay, I got my first paycheck, I'm going to go blow it kind of thing. Because a lot of people, you know, with the job industry going on right now, people like, I'm thinking millennials getting their first big job, and like the younger millennials anyways, because I'm looking at us, I'm like, we're millennials too. But, you know, yeah,
That's right.
that's a really good point that you brought. And it's like, oh, I need this. I need this. TikTok shows you all the things that you like need apparently, but you honestly don't. Like you, all the things that you want, but you honestly don't need, is what I'm trying to say. So I think emotional just that, and from social media maybe.
Yeah, what I would say is just be very selective of the content that you absorb. You know, there's a lot of content out there, and you want to make sure that you're absorbing the right content. Like I've been watching the news lately, and I'm seeing people, you know, storming or blockading hospitals. I don't know what kind of content you're absorbing throughout your day to make you get so riled up you're going to go block people from getting to the hospital. So, you know, they say that the five people you're around the most, if I met the five people you're around the most, I'm probably going to know pretty close to what you think, who you are, how you eat, how you exercise, because you become your surroundings. So get around people or watch content of people that are where you want to be, and absorb that content. And be very selective of that. You want to stick to something long term. You know, part of wealth creation, or this FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, is people are disciplined and they're consistent. They're not changing their mind every 5 minutes. They're finding something that they believe in and that they like, and then they're sticking to it. They're consistent, and take away all the emotion. Right? Get some of the greatest, wealthiest people in the world could probably do some of their financing themselves, but they don't. They want to get detached from their money, because when you're too attached to it, you're going to make either irrational decisions, quick decisions, or just decisions you're going to regret later.
It's definitely like, those are like real words of gold almost, because that's exactly how that discipline, the focus. You have to have that intent of what you want your money to do for you. They always say, make your money work for you instead of you working for your money at the end of the day, right? So you need to make those right choices and have the right coach in your corner to help you make those decisions. And I really, really like the way that you put that, for sure. And, you know, to encapsulate the last kind of question here, because we've got about 10 more minutes left. I want to, you know, as we're looking at the fall season coming in, it tends to be a time where folks are like, okay, I need to make some really good decisions because Christmas time is coming up, holiday season, oh, I want to go on a vacation, because apparently a lot of Canadians are trying to go on vacation after being locked in for so long. And the borders are now starting to loosen up. So we can say, I guess, I don't know, unless you're back. But what are some smart consumer decisions Canadians can make within the last quarter of 2021?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because, you know, I suffer from this. I sometimes buy to feel happy, like we all do. And, you know, one of the things I would say is just take to think about, oh, are you freezing there? I don't know if it's my internet or your internet. I seem to have.
I think it's, I'm just going to say it's a little bit of both. It could be probably mine. I'm not, honestly, it's internet. So it's all good. I'm just going to ask you to repeat that answer because it sounds really cut off a bit.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, as I was saying, I suffer from, sometimes I just buy something. I'm going to go, you know, dive into the lust of the purchase, and I'll deal with it, you know, afterwards. So what I would say is, before you do anything, think about profit first. Think about are you going to take some profits from these business. What's that percentage going to be? I really recommend that it's at least 10%. And then throughout the holidays, because I know there's going to be stuff coming up, there's going to be trips people need. People need to just feel good again, get around people, go to the concerts. You're not going to feel as much guilt about splurging a little bit over the holidays if you start designating what's the money you're going to keep for yourself, and just stick to that. Automate it so you can't change it. Get a good coach if you want. Just add that extra layer so you have to talk to somebody before you go splurge. And you might feel less guilty about making those purchases or splurging a little bit if you already know you're taking some profits out of your own family business.
That's actually pretty smart. Like, pay yourself first and then kind of go out and we're not saying don't go spend on that, just save your money, period. Enjoy it, but just make sure that you've got your money where it needs to be first before you go spending. And you also said something at the beginning of the call as an exit strategy, to always have that at the back of your mind, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're going to make a big purchase, like, I'm on probably the 5th home that I've purchased. And before I purchase that house, I always look at what's my exit strategy. It's a big purchase. So who is going to be my future buyer if I want to get out of this deal? I might want to get out of the deal in 6 months. I might not want to get out of the deal for 5 years. I just want to know what's my exit strategy before I buy the deal. And don't be afraid to walk away, right? Don't be afraid if the numbers don't make sense and you're going to make a massive purchase and it's not going to give you what you want at the end of the day for the exit, then you're going to have to think, is it worth the entertainment cost or is it not worth the entertainment cost? And if it's not, then don't make the purchase. There's never a shortage of stuff to buy. There's never a shortage of entertainment. And there's never a shortage, really, even though they say there's a shortage of houses, something always comes up the week after, right? There's always a new surplus of something that's going to come up.
No, and honestly, Nick, your answers to these questions have been really, really great, because I like the fact that they revolve around the mentality of how you walk into your financial situations and how you approach them. It's that discipline, it's that focus, it's the intent, and how you decide to go about it. Those are really solid. So you've probably been reading a lot of great books then. So I guess I want to ask you is if there's one book you would want to recommend to all our all our viewers and followers. If there's one book you could recommend them to read this quarter or at some point to help them find it.
Yeah, oh man, it's so hard to summarize in one book. One of the books that opened my eyes to finances was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I think everybody has heard of that book and they all know that book. I just started a new book called Atomic Habits, and it's all about changing your habits inch by inch, mile by mile over time, and how that's going to change your life drastically. That would be one book that I've started recently, and I find it very, very good. Or The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is another book, just to understand that the small things you do today will compound and grow into some pretty amazing things down the road. One of the biggest things is mentality when it comes to financial health, right? We are our own worst enemy, and just own it, right? If you have 50 pounds you want to lose, nobody made you eat. Well, I don't want to summarize that one, but I'm just saying, if you're a little bit overweight and you know that you've been overeating, sitting around, being lazy, you have to change in order to get back into the clothing that you want to fit into. I know I added probably a good 20 pounds over COVID. I have nobody to blame but myself. Everything in finance is all up here. And that's why find a good coach, separate your emotion from your money, make sure you have a trusted person or have a few trusted people and make them objectively talk to you as to why their strategy makes sense. What I would say is when you look for that financial professional to help you with the mindset, help you with your goals, make sure that they're giving you advantages and disadvantages. You want to hear advantages, disadvantages, and then you make the decision in the middle. Don't be pushed into something or be jammed a product down your throat. Get the advantages, the disadvantages, you decide. If it takes you 5 months to decide, it takes you 5 months to decide. But at least you know what you're getting, and you're going to be happy, and you're going to know what you're doing.
Definitely. I like the fact that it's an accountability factor at the end of the day too, right? So, and it goes back to the book that you suggested, Atomic Habits and the Compound Factor, was it?
The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. It's an older book. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit older of a book. Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, and Atomic Habits. I can't remember the name of the author, but great books. Going to teach you all about habits. Obviously, there's the big ones, right? You know, the Simon Sinek stuff is really, really great for that.
Game right now in our book club, so it's fantastic book. Fantastic.
Yeah. His stuff's great. Find 2 or 3 people too. Like, you don't need to be absorbing 50 gurus' information. They're going to conflict with one another, and it's going to confuse you. And you can over-educate yourself where you can't make a decision and now you're paralyzed. So, find a few good ones that you really like. Just absorb their content, stick to it. Make sure they are where you want to be, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that said, do this, and you'll be wealthy. Well, show me your bank account. Let me see how you're living. I want to know if your bills are paid on time. Do a little bit of research. Don't just take words for face value.
True. Well, you know what? Honestly, these are fantastic tips that we spoke about today. And Nick, you've got a wealth of knowledge, and the mentality that you bring into this makes you a really great coach. So thank you so much for joining us. I know I want to open it up for the individuals, but feel free to put it comment box or the Q&A feature at the bottom right corner. But I scrolled up right now because we had a question. The approach coaching method, if you're still on, they asked, would you use the same ratio, the 10-20-70, for business owners / 100% comp based?
Yes, absolutely. So I think of real estate agents. I think of, anybody in a commission-based industry. The 10-20-70 is really a guide. Now, if you're new or starting out in a business, those ratios are going to be could be potentially very difficult to maintain. So again, it's all just about planning. What's your end game? So if you're new to a commission-based career, 3 years in, are you going to be stabilized? Where's your stabilization point so that you can then focus on 10-20-70? But I do believe profit first is very important. Separate off the amount of money that needs to go to taxes. And then you've got your sort of bulk there that I deal with this bulk. It is very tricky when you're commission-based, but you can be commission-based and live by the principle profit first, right? How much am I going to take out of every deal that is mine, right? We don't work and we don't start businesses and we don't get into careers to spin wheels and not get anywhere. We need money. We need to feel like what we're doing is accomplishing something. If it's 10%, it's 10% until you're stabilized.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I hope that answers your question. The approach coaching method, I believe it was. Hopefully that helped. I know Lucas has also put in a very interesting question here. He says, interested to know if any clients have been consulting with you about undertaking major life changes this fall, i.e. retirement or major purchases such as a house. And he goes on to say, or even those who had children during the pandemic and now have to pay for daycare, travel expenses such as gas or even food when in the office. That's actually a really good point. There were a lot of pandemic babies. So I don't know if you want to further to those.
Yeah. Points. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to the comment from the beginning. Sometimes we make decisions and purchases and we haven't really planned out what we're going to be doing long-term or in the future. So wherever you're at right now, if you had a child during the pandemic, I think that was the next baby boom. Maybe we'll call this baby boom 2 or something like that, because there's been a lot of new additions to the world in the last year or so. So you know what? Just sit down and look at what you have and where you're at. If I'm going back to work, what does that look like? Let's plan. Can we trim some fat in any kind of places? Maybe there's a little bit of a side gig if you're these people that want to earn, just help with a few things. Do you have a passion project that people would like to learn about something from you, or various things where people get into account? I mean, there's always ways to earn a little bit of extra income if you're stretched, right? If you're stretched, that's okay. Find something where you make a little bit of extra cash on the start your own business from home. You're going to have a few deductions you can make, get up some cash flow. never feel any regret as to where you're at today. Just take a look at your finances, look at your ratios. If the ratios are out of whack, don't fret. Put a game plan in place as to how you're going to get back on track. If you have to unload some stuff, unload some stuff. You know, I got stuff in my attic that I think is trash, but I guarantee you somebody would be willing to give me a little bit of cash for it. So, you know, think about that. Think about what you have that someone may want and unload it, get back on track.
Certainly, certainly. Well, honestly, you've given us a lot to think about, and the tips have been really, really great. So, folks, if you're interested in connecting with Nick, hopefully it'll be all right. His Instagram handle is on the top here. You'll see it on the top of your screen. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and getting your tips and tricks as we enter the fall season.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate it, and hopefully I'd be welcome back again. This was a lot of fun.
This was, and I hope your Instagram Live, your first Instagram Live experience was really good. You did fantastic.
Yeah, well, you never forget your first, right? So I'm gonna remember this for a long time.
Awesome. Well, for those who want to continue to see it for another long time, we're going to have it on our Financial Advice for All website, as well as our Instagram account. So, folks, if you were unable to watch the rest of it or would like to watch a replay, feel free to check it up on our website or on our Instagram profile. Otherwise, until next time, folks, we're definitely going to have a lot more Instagram Lives as we enter the fall season. But for now, we'll see you soon. Nick, you take care.
Thank you.
Cheers, folks.